Hello and welcome to What's Goin' with Owen and Maggie. I am Owen.
And I'm Maggie.
What's going, Maggie? This is our first episode, by the way. I feel like there should have been more preamble.
Yes, technically it is our first episode after the lost episode, the 0 episode, and the 2 episodes you did without me. So yeah, you've done it a bunch.
Episode 1/2 and episode 3/4. You would think I would be like ready for this and be more professional, but I'm not.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm very loosey-goosey, but I'm very excited to be starting this. This is going to be our show about comic books and pop culture and the nerdy things we love. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yay! And Owen has notes on his phone, so we're going to...
I have notes. I have an outline of what the structure of the show is. I don't have notes.
Okay, fine. But yeah, we were talking before we started about how there's sort of a plethora of stuff to cover if we want to, because it's Comic-Con week, and today has just been thing after thing after thing coming out to the point where it's sort of overwhelming. So that's sort of what I did with the last little chunk of my day. But yeah, that's what's going around these parts. I read some pretty crummy Wolverine comics today, and that was sort of my day in comics.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to get started with that? Because this was weeks ago. I feel like we have so much to of touch on for the last few weeks. The Marvel Now schedule was unveiled for October, which is going to be like Marvel Now was a thing they did in like 2012 with Marvel, where they kind of did like a soft reboot. Where they were like, it wasn't a reboot, but they were just kind of like, we're all starting everything out at issue 1 and everything's at new plot lines and things are different.
Yeah, that's actually where I'm at in my giant Marvel reread, because I finally just got past Avengers versus X-Men, and so I'm right where all the new stuff starts. So
yeah, you're in luck.
I know I'm going to get to finally read.
Good.
I know I'm going to get to read that Hawkeye I've been wanting to read for like a year, but I'm like, no, I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
Read everything else first, and I have to struggle through garbage. And now I'm like, I just want to see Clint Barton, walking around in his underpants being grumpy. Like, that's my understanding of what that comic book is.
That's a very good up of that series. Yes. I'm only I think I'm on issue 12 of that. I read it sporadically. It is amazing. Matt Fraction's so great.
I love Matt Fraction. So I have been reading... Matt Fraction is the one who does Sex Criminals, correct?
Yeah, with Chip Zdarsky.
And it's so good. And the two of them are just really funny. Like, there's a lot of meta stuff in there. They throw themselves into it a lot, and they're really entertaining. So I've really enjoyed reading that. I have to hide the books because my daughter can read now.
Yep.
So that one I can't leave out. But it's been really fun to read. It's really good.
Yeah. A friend of the show, Trevor Bench, is a big fan of Sex Criminals and Hawkeye. But we took him with us to my comic shop closed. My local comic shop closed about a year ago.
Right.
And I was heartbroken. And but I was going to the Hastings chain local here and getting my comics. And they filed for bankruptcy a few months ago. And no one bought them out, so they are getting liquidated. So we drove down to McKinney? Frisco, which is about an hour away.
Oh,
and
geez.
I talked them over with them. I was like, look, I can come and pick up my comics every 2 or 3 weeks. And they were like, okay.
Oh,
so
cool.
I've gone there several times. I go there for free comic book day every year. They're a great shop. It's called Collected in Plano. If you guys are in Texas at all, that's a pretty good store. Cool. He bought one of the Not Safe for Work covers that they do of that.
Oh, yeah.
And those,
don't bring that to my house.
No. It was amazing. The actual front cover was this very tasteful drawing of one of the characters just like from behind, and you can see her butt. But on the back cover, it looked like a 12-year-old boy had drawn like a sexy woman in I think she was wearing long leather gloves or something, and she was topless and had a gun. It was amazing.
Yeah, that should not be on the main cover of the books that I read.
No,
well, I joked about how I only had heard about it pretty shortly before Free Comic Book Day this year, which is the first time I'd ever gone to a Free Comic Book Day, because I happened to be dropping my daughter off right before the comic book store near me opened. And I was like, well, I'll just swing over there and, get a free comic book and see if they have Sex Criminals, because I hear it's really good. And I walk in and I'm like, oh, half the kids here, like half the people in line are with their kids. I cannot walk in and say, hey, so do you guys have the new Sex Criminals, when there's like an 8-year-old standing there waiting to get their Betty and Veronica like mini issue. Like this one with Lumberjanes is really cool. What's that woman talking about? I'm like, it's just the one where they fuck and time stops and they rob banks and yeah, it's cool. It's good. You should read it.
There's a man who poops in a potted plant a lot.
He does. That is a running plot.
I've only read the first 6 issues or so. I need to like go back and just like read it all the way up to where it's at, because it's such a great series.
Yeah, they just came out with the 3rd trade, and so I just got that and just read it. So I read the first 2 basically at the same time, and then the 3rd one just came out a couple weeks ago. Right at the same time as the most recent Saga came out. They both came out pretty much at the same time, those 2 trades. So that was a fun couple days. I was like, yay, some of my favorite books.
I only read the first issue of Saga at Free Comic Book Day. It was like where they gave out the first issue. It was really good, and I need to read it, but I just haven't gotten around to it.
And there's a ton of it now. So, but
they're on like what, issue like 30 something?
Oh, must be late 30s probably, because this was the 5th or 6th. I think the 6th trade, and each one has 6, probably about 6 issues in it, and
4 to 8, kind of in that range.
Yeah, but it's quick. Like it's not like super dense. It's not as quick as like Paper Girls, which he also writes, which Brian K. Vaughan also writes, and is
I'm not familiar with that one.
Paper Girls. It's set. Actually, I've been meaning to talk about it on the Stranger Things podcast that I'm doing with Natasha, because there are some moments that in that where the kids are riding around on their bikes that are just very reminiscent of some of the artwork in Paper Girls, because that's set in the maybe the late 80s. And it's these 4 girls who are paper girls. They deliver newspapers and get caught up in some supernatural alien craziness, basically. And the art's very stylized in kind of a interesting, sketchy kind of way. And I think they just did sort of a big break. So there haven't been a lot of new issues, or at least weren't for a while. So there's only been 1 trade, and I generally don't buy single issues just because I don't have any real good way to store them without the kids getting into them. So I kind of have to wait for trades to come out. So the fact
you have kids. Like, kids are really hard on singles.
Oh, they really are. I say this as a child who read a lot of singles. They were not in good condition.
And I still have my dad's collection. He gave me basically everything he had that I grew up reading. And you can really tell the series that I grew up reading, because they're just loose.
They're torn to shit, yeah.
Yeah, loose covers mostly, more than anything else. Like, I wasn't especially hard on them, but just, kids are kind of careless.
You're reading them, and I can't. This is going to be goofy, but I have a whole collection of old Sassy magazines, some of which are from when you are young enough you don't even know what Sassy Magazine is. I just realized. Is
it like highlights for kids?
No, it was
Goofus and Gollum?
No, it was it was a teen girl magazine, so like YM or 17 or anything, but like for weirdo hipsters, basically. So it was really unlike any other teen magazine that's ever existed. It was really weird. Like, they had like a zine of the month section and like reviewed Liz Phair albums, and just really, it was super crazy and awesome. And so I still have a bunch of them from when I bought them at the time, and then I bought a whole bunch of missing ones off of eBay when I was manic, like 10 years ago. So I have this nice solid collection of them, and every now and then I'll take one out and be like, I'm just gonna read this old magazine, and then I'll be stupid and get distracted by something and run off, and I come back and I'm like, oh, my kids have totally trashed this. Why did I think I was able to do something for fun for myself?
They soaked it in a pitcher of Kool-Aid.
Yeah, basically. But at this point, I just shouldn't leave anything out because, like I said, my child can read now, and so everything is fair game, and I got to be more careful. I don't need her. She already likes the Liz Phair songs that she's heard. I don't really need her being like, let's listen to all of these songs, and like, they're not appropriate for you. I let you listen to the ones that are. But yeah, so I have some singles. Like I bought the first issue of Black Panther because I wanted to see how that was going to go.
What did you think? I wasn't quite as crazy as everyone else was. Like,
I feel like if I read some more of them, I would get into it. I liked it more than I've liked first issues of other Black Panther series that I've tried to get into.
That's fair.
But at the same time, just the overall setting and mythos just has never been one that clicks for me. But that was one of the pieces of news that came out today, was that Ta-Nehisi Coates and Roxane Gay are going to be working together on another sort of spin-off series that focuses on the female characters from Wakanda. And I'm like,
the guards,
yeah, I think it is, or else it might be rulers from the past. It might be like historical or something.
Because he has a sister who was also a Black Panther.
Yes, exactly. And then I think she died. And he took back over. And and I love Roxane Gay. She's written for The Toast, and she's an essayist, and she writes all sorts of cool stuff. And I'm sure, if you ask Natasha, I'm sure Natasha would know who she is. She's great. So I'm totally going to buy that, even though I don't like Wakanda stuff, because I'm like, more of these people being employed. That's sort of my feeling about it.
I'm stoked for the movie, and I'm kind of trade waiting, I think.
That's what I'm doing with the rest of. Yeah, that's what I'm doing for the rest of Black Panther. But I wanted to get the first one. But yeah, and I am also excited for the movie. The movie, I loved the character in the movie.
And I loved his bodyguard.
Yes, who is also going to be in the movie, as I believe Ryan is mentioning. The
actress who plays Michonne is going to be in the movie. That's cool.
Oh, from Walking Dead.
Yeah, from AMC's The Walking Dead.
Yes, okay. I know nothing about what's going to happen in that movie, but I'm looking forward to it based on the little we've seen of the character so far. So, what were we talking about? I got distracted by talking about sex criminals.
In a very roundabout way. We were talking about Marvel Now.
You literally said one sentence about Marvel Now.
We will never, ever run out of things to talk about, which is why we are doing this show.
Okay, so talk about new Marvel Now.
New Marvel Now, I didn't look over that much. The main thing I was seeing from it was, obviously they're trying to recreate their magic that they got from the original Marvel Now, which when they did the whole Secret Wars all-new reboot, a lot of people were like, why are you doing this? Marvel Now was great.
Yeah.
We like things the way they were, and some people haven't been happy with all new Marvel, although I think a lot of it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. And so they're doing a new Marvel Now, which is weird because all new Marvel has been around for less than a year. And on the Marvel Now imprint or whatever, there was nothing solicited for X-Men at all, except for Death of X-Men.
Right. Which
people have been saying for a long time that they're going to try and cancel X-Men because Marvel doesn't have the movie rights.
Right. And I saw that and was like, well, that seems impossible, but it did give me a little bit of a panic attack because I tend to like the X-Men books as a rule more than most other things on the...
I think it's their best, singular concept.
Yeah.
Not always the best actual thing going on because it's too popular for its own good.
Right, but it's got a real depth to it that they can go back to and do lots of different stuff, which I think is true of that more than any other sort of segment of the universe. But especially compared to Inhumans, which admittedly I haven't read a ton of the most recent new Inhuman stuff, but
who cares?
Really, there's just not. It's not bad. I've never strongly disliked any of it, but I'm still kind of like, it's not the same. Like, it's just not.
I've got to say, I look back to all of the original Stan and Jack creations from the 60s, and I can't think of a single other thing that they worked on that I like less than the Inhumans. Because those dudes created the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, which back then the X-Men was terrible, but they still created them. Daredevil, Spider-Man, Jack Kirby wasn't part of that. But, basically anything from the 60s, those original things, I think are all much better ideas and much more interesting than the Inhumans.
I would agree, yeah.
Daredevil, Iron Man, the Avengers, the Hulk, like, all of that's a lot more interesting than the Inhumans. Like, the Inhumans is basically like a palette-swapped X-Men in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It kind of boggles me. Like, I understand why they would focus on them more based on film rights stuff, but especially since they have dropped the Inhumans movie from the movie schedule at this point, I'm like, why? Why are you still, clearly this isn't working for you. Conceptually, you've got issues with it on the movie end. Why are you going to push it on the book end?
Did I tell you about trying to read Civil War II?
No.
I was like, I have a comic show now. I should be informed. I should read some events. I'm not an event person. Like, I think when an event is done well, it can be super fucking awesome. Like some of the original 80s X-Men events, or like, things like Infinity Gauntlet I like. But as a rule, I don't like events. But it's like, okay, Civil War II, it's Bendis, it's not Mark Miller. Maybe it's okay. And I pick up the first issue, look at the first page. I'm like, oh, good art. But I read the first word bubble, and it's like, we're the Inhumans, and we're around now. And I just like closed it and put it back on the shelf. It's like, nope. If this is going to be Inhumans centered, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm reading some of the tie-ins because right now what I'm reading is Miss Marvel, Power Man and Iron Fist, and some X-Books. And some of those are tying in. And some of the tie-ins are fine. Like, isn't
there Miss Marvel Inhuman stuff going on now? I feel like I just read that.
Yeah, and it's somewhat interesting. The basic premise behind it, from what I understand, is there's a new Inhuman on the block, and he can he saw the movie. What's that movie where Tom Cruise knows the future because of those bald kids?
Minority Report.
Yeah. It's basically Minority Report, where Captain Marvel is like, we need to stop crimes before they happen. And everyone else is like, maybe we should think about this. And she's like, before they happen. And somehow it got War Machine killed, which that's kind of shitty.
Right. Wasn't she dating War Machine?
She was dating War Machine. And of course, Iron Man has the bro thing with War Machine. So now they're at each other's throats. But it's just... I mean, he's literally, the black man who had to die to motivate the story.
Right. And they do that. That's a Civil War thing.
Yeah, that's
ironic.
That's the key between both Civil War things. What's the link between Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 2? John McClane gets trapped in an area. What's the link between Civil War 1 and Civil War 2? Black men have to die to motivate white people to fight.
Oh, it's so wrong. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying to read things through chronologically as much as possible. I'm getting close to being caught up, honestly, except for when I get distracted and go back and read Enemy of the State for some reason.
That was the thing. We were talking about X-Men being canceled, and I didn't think it was. I think it's just not
really either. Yeah.
And yeah, that's what they're saying. They're like, no, Wolverine is going to be in a story based on Wolverine, Enemy of State, a crappy Mark Miller Wolverine comic books from the early aughts.
Right. So you sent me that this morning. I think that was like the first thing I saw when I woke up. You sent it either last night or this morning, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's what I'm going to do today is I'll go back and read the original one.
That's not what I meant for you to do.
I know. But it's, none of these things take that long. It's 6 issues. And, I kept getting interrupted by my kids, and I still managed to get through it.
You're a much faster and better reader than I am, because I I read like 2 comics over. You saw my vacation picture. I posted it on the Facebook page. I went on this vacation and I was like,
right.
I'm going to get all my reading done. And I packed a short box full of comics and I read like 10 issues worth of something.
That was, to be fair, that was ridiculous, the amount that you had packed. Like, ludicrous. Like, Natasha must have just looked at that and just rolled her eyes so hard they fell out of her head. Like, there's no way. She really thought that was plausible.
I'm sure
We're
she
like,
did.
This is what we're going to do on our vacation.
She read more issues than I did. She read the first maybe 8 issues of the first volume of Miss Marvel. The Kamala Khan Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I've read a couple of those just because I've heard such good things that I wanted to read a little bit of it. Yeah, but again, like I said, I'm really trying to read things as chronologically as I can. So I'll get to Civil War 2 sometime by the end of the year, probably. I would assume. I stopped making Dresden Files references, Krista. I've not read Dresden Files.
Oh, just watch the Sci-Fi Channel original series based on the Dresden Files.
Are you saying that jokingly, or is it terrible? Okay. But yeah, Natasha keeps doing that too, being like, have you read Dresden Files? I'm like, no, I have not read Dresden Files. I'm not going to get your reference. But yeah, I like Krista has said, I am not an actual human. Shut up, Natasha.
It is really good. I'm the one who got her into it.
And she says the audiobooks are good, so I should just listen to the audiobooks.
Yeah, it's done by that guy from Buffy with the terrible British accent, but he's actually good in this audiobook.
It's not terrible. It's a good British accent.
He's so bad.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible British accent. You're correct. But yeah, Krista has known me for many, many years, and she can attest that I have kind of the superhuman reading speed and crazy memory, which the crazy memory really bites my kids in the ass a lot of the time. So it's fun as a parent to be able to be like, I said this at this exact time. And they're like, you can't argue with her.
It was July 31st and 6 white doves flew by the window.
Seriously, my husband, my poor husband, he'll be like, I never said that. I'm like, I can tell you where you were standing when you said that and what you were wearing. And he's like, God damn it. So
you were wearing that shirt I don't like.
Yep, pretty much. But so I read Enemy of the State today so I could get my brain around that idea that there's going to be a X-23 version of this. So I wanted to sort of see the background. And I read it and I was like, but this is just what X-23 has always done. Like, how are they going to make a whole new, is it just going to be like, oh, she's come so far and now we're going to bring her back to being a brainwashed agent of, some shady whatever. I mean, that's basically what Wolverine was too. But there's just been,
I never liked X-23 until now that she's over that shit.
I know. And so like, at least Wolverine had a real backstory of doing other stuff before they then, I feel like they flashed back a lot to him doing all that stuff. But when he was introduced as part of the X-Men. They didn't start him out with his whole Weapon X backstory. They came back to that, right?
Well, sort of. He was working for the Canadian government. He appeared in an issue of Hulk. And he had this real dumb costume. It's basically like his classic costume, but it had whiskers.
Ooh, that's fun.
Oh, look that shit up. It's a treat.
I will.
Oh, man, it's rough. And it wasn't until the year after that when they were just like, okay, we're going to reboot the X-Men. And I'm sure, like, the 1975 equivalent of me was like, the X-Men, that's the worst Stan Lee and Jack Kirby idea. And they were like, well, we're going to use some new mutants, and we're going to use some mutants that we've seen but that haven't been X-Men. And so they were just like, we'll just use this random Hulk villain who is in 2 issues, but let's make his costume look a little more like Batman's. And then that's the look that stuck. Good.
Yeah. So, X-23, when they, I've actually always really liked all the X-23 stuff that I've read for the most part, but it was pretty repetitive. Like, it always just gets to the point where they're like, and here's the set that drives her crazy, and somebody's going to snag her and make her do bad things. And then she manages to get out of it. And, how's X-23 going to get out of this one this time? Somehow it'll happen. But yeah, it's a shame because she really has gone a long time with some actual character development, and now their big event is going to be like, and psych, let's do that again, because it'll flash us back to, and they said it's going to cross over with Old Man Logan stuff.
Yeah,
I think I read.
well, the thing is, right now, original Logan is dead. Spoiler alert
Right?
for Death
No,
of Wolverine.
I knew that.
Spoiler
Yeah,
alert for Death of Wolverine.
spoiler alert
Wolverine
for
dies.
Death of Wolverine.
Do you want me to tell you how he dies, or do you want it to be a surprise?
I don't care. You can tell me.
It's covered in molten adamantium.
Ooh, that's smart.
So he's like a sad, like, statue of Wolverine that presumably, I think Cyclops has it like in his front yard or something. I might be making that up because I didn't read it.
I like how Cyclops really goes off the deep end at a certain point. That's the most I've liked Cyclops, actually, honestly, is when he just is like, fuck it. And like, there's a bit.
You were going to love Marvel Now X-Men.
Oh, I know.
It's so good. Bendis is either great or awful.
Right.
And his X-Men stuff was really good. That's when I started buying X-Men again. I say again, like I ever bought them.
Like
I read old Claremont Byrne trades when I was a kid.
I think I screen capped at one point. You know, I knew sort of where things were going with Cyclops to an extent. So there was some X-Men panel about a year and a half before Avengers versus X-Men where they're sitting around a table and Storm is there and he says, he's sitting there, it's like Emma and Magneto and Rogue, I think, and they're all there. And she says something to the effect of, raise your hand if you've never been a supervillain.
Yeah.
And so she raises her hand, and Scott raises his hand, and she says, you might want to think about that there for a second. And I was like, foreshadowing, you know, she saw what was coming.
That was the beginning of the Fraction run. Ooh,
okay.
That was. I read that in the back of a like a graphic novel. They were like, "You read this original graphic novel? Here's an issue of X-Men that's going on right now," and it was that one. And
it was good.
Yeah,
Storm can be really inconsistently written a lot of the time. I find it's hard for.
It's why I haven't liked Storm. I want to like her, and I love her mohawk.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where different writers cannot get a handle on her the same way that a lot of the other characters. It's much easier. Yeah, Krista says, you mean white American men have trouble with African women? Shocking. They all seem to be real consistent in how they write Scott Damn Summers, but Storm's a challenge.
Yeah. Middle-aged white men would be really good at making middle-aged men working in comic books. Making sad, repressed white men.
That's my Cyclops face. Did you see the comic or you must have been the one who linked to the comic of the Wolverine Garfield parody of? You saw that, right?
Good.
So good. So it's Cyclops following a Wolverine actual cat around
as he
tears up the curtains and everything. Wolverine, no. And then the last panel is him sitting in Jean Grey's lap, and she's like stroking him, and Cyclops. And I'm like, that's it. That's the whole comic. That's it. That's 30 years of comics.
That was something I wanted. No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. So having now read the original Enemy of the State, I'm like, not that it itself was that bad, although it was pretty much in line with all the other
you said, I'm going to read this. And I was like, and then I Amazoned it, just to look at reviews. I was like, well, it's got 5 stars, but the creative team is Mark Millar and John Romita Jr., who, all respect to John Romita Jr., you and I do not like his art style much.
No, it was okay. It was fine. There was some good action stuff that went on that was well done. But in general, it was fine. I didn't hate it. But it didn't fill me with a lot of confidence that doing it with X-23 is going to be this thing that's going to revitalize the X-Men line as part of this new, I don't know.
It sounds like a less interesting Winter Soldier.
Yeah, basically. And it's a bummer because I like Laura as a character. I like that she's become human over time. You know, she was so, there's a lot of X-23 in the character of Elle from Stranger Things. I was going to talk about that actually on the next one that we do. Because there's the scene in Stranger Things where she's, you know, she's locked up and they're trying to get her to kill a cat. And that was, I mean, there's actually a scene in X-23 in the original one where they show that they give her a puppy and that's her pet. And then they tell her, then they make her kill her dog. Like, this is one of the first things they make her do as a tiny, small child. And so as soon as that cat showed up and you see this little girl freaking out about having to kill the cat, I'm like, you know, they keep bringing up X-Men references. That's got to be, I'm sure that's from everything. Yes, Krista. But, you know, I'm looking at X-Men parallels in this show because there are a bunch of them.
Oh, and quick quibble with what Natasha said. X-Men 135 is the issue where Jean goes Dark Phoenix, not the one where she becomes Phoenix. As if that matters.
That's sort of what I assumed. I know. That's what I assumed. So
it's 2 issues from the big death.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that doesn't bode well for any of the characters in Stranger Things.
No, but I just thought you should know that because we're on we've seen the same amount of episodes. So
okay. Oh, I watched the 3rd one. That's the okay. And I want to watch them more, and I'm not allowed to. And it sucks. And my husband watched them all, and I'm so mad. He didn't realize that I was the unspoiled one this time. So while he was out of town, he knew I was going to be doing the podcast on it. And so he watched like 5 or something.
Your voice sounds crazy.
Oh, no. Do I need to go off and come back?
Now it's good.
Is it good now?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Sometimes it just does that.
You sounded like a terrifying robot lady.
I know that happens sometimes. I've heard that occasionally I go terrifying robot lady.
Your kids tell you that sometimes?
Yep, I've heard that from them. I scare the cat. And so he watched like 5 episodes of it. And it was right after he came home. I see him sitting in the living room or in the dining room with his laptop open. And I walk by and I see what he's watching. And I was like, whoa. I can't see that. Make that go away. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm unspoiled. I can only have seen the first 2 episodes. And he's I thought we were going to talk about stuff.
Like, it is very fun for you to be the unspoiled one because you're much more antsy about it.
I'm super antsy about it. This is honestly the most unspoiled I've been for literally anything since 1999. And I'm not even joking. It's been since, the episode when they had to take Buffy off the air after Columbine. So after Columbine, there was an episode that aired like a week later, or was supposed to air a week later, about a character going up to the top of the school and with a shotgun, and they all think that he's going to go shoot a bunch of students. Buffy can read minds, and she thinks that's what's going on. And they're like, nope, we can't. Yes, it was Jonathan. So they were like, we can't show this because some, lunatics just went and shot a whole bunch of kids at a school. So we cannot show an episode where a bunch of kids go shoot up a school or a kid shoots up a school. Yeah. So they took that off. Yeah. But then 3 weeks later was the finale episode, and they decided to pull that because the students get attacked by a giant snake demon. And that's somehow equivalent. The WB execs balked at that.
I could see how after Columbine they were just like, I don't know about this Buffy show.
Yeah, basically that's what it was. And we're like,
the whole Buffy show is just like, oh, terrible things happen to teenagers.
Yeah, really. I mean, if you're going to start drawing the line, a giant snake demon, you're in trouble. You might as well just cancel the whole show. But so that got pulled in the US, but it didn't get pulled in Canada. So Canadians got to see the finale of the season, and Americans didn't. And I was on Usenet a bunch at the time, and so spoilers came out on the Usenet Buffy group on alt.tv.buffy. And so I went and read it. I was like, okay, I need to know what happens. It's literally the last episode of the entire season. It's what the whole thing's been building to, and just because the execs are weird, they're not going to let me see it. I'm going to read it. And that was the beginning of the end. And since then, I have been spoiled for everything ever. Like, to the extent that when Lost was on, I would read the reviews from the the episodes would always be released for screeners a day ahead of time, and somebody would always write them up and post them on a news group, and I would go and read them a day ahead of time. That's how antsy I am about. I'm like, I need to know.
What about
if it's out there? I need to know.
What about you were spoiled for Force Awakens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to see it right away. So I was like, well, I'm going to get spoiled by some dickhead anyway, I'm sure, within like 3 minutes of the movie opening, which is what happened to like everybody I know. So I was like, I'm just going to do it ahead of time so that I can just get it out of the way on my own terms.
Yeah.
So yes, I went and spoiled myself. I also, I've told Natasha the story about how I read all of the last Harry Potter book because a few days before it came out, somebody posted it in PDF form in its entirety on the internet.
You told me. Yeah, I remember that. That was on an episode.
Yeah, and I sat and I read the whole thing overnight. Actually, I read it for like 6 hours, and then like it was 4:00 in the morning, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go take a nap. And then I woke back up at like 7 and sat back down and read like PDF after PDF after PDF because I was going to be at a wedding, and I'm like, well, I might as well read it now because it's going to be sitting on my doorstep in New York City, and I'm going to be in Pittsburgh, so I'm not going to get to read it, so I might as well read it now. And I didn't feel bad about like the piracy aspect of it because I paid for the book already. Like it was on its way. But so yeah, read that ahead of time, spoiled myself for Force Awakens. Yeah, this is it. Your cat is so happy with you right now.
She is not. I'm going to let her in, actually. Sorry about that, guys.
That's cool.
So annoying. It's not like she even really wants to be in here. She just wants to be a pain in the ass.
Yep. That's because she's a cat. That's what they do.
Okay, so moving on with the news, we watched some trailers.
Yeah.
What did you think? I watched the first half of the Wonder Woman trailer before
it's
stopped
2
loading.
minutes long. Oh, it stopped loading.
Yeah, I was in a building with very bad signal.
Uh-huh.
Krista in the chat is asking, how much did y'all raise on crowdfunding? It is fully funded, the Stranger Things, so they will continue with that, which is very exciting.
I think it went up to $615.
Yeah, something like that.
we got a huge donation, which was awesome. It was kind of mind blowing. So we've gotten to 200, which was sort of slowly but surely. But we were getting a little antsy because we both really wanted to keep doing it, and we weren't sure whether we were going to get there. And then we got a $400 donation. So.
Yeah, I was on the couch with her when that happened. We were actually watching Stranger Things. She just looked over at me and she was like, I just got a donation. And I was like, yeah.
You do that sometimes. And she was like, no. Like a donation. A really big donation.
So that is funded, and that's awesome.
That's funded. So we're doing 3 next week and then 3 the week after that, and then we'll be done.
Nice. What did you think of the Wonder Woman trailer?
I liked it. And I don't care about the DC extended film universe at all.
Or DC in general, let's be honest.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So
you have kids, and I say even if you don't have kids or if you're not a kid, the best way to get into DC is through some of the animated series.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like,
and
no joke, really, like it's all really well done. Like even the goofier stuff, that's the way to do it.
I really want to like the line of DC girl superhero toys and books and stuff that they have coming out now. Mm-hmm. That's like trying to appeal to young girls. I would like to get some of that stuff for my daughter. But the book that I saw looked terrible. Like it was literally just, they transposed the names from some Ever After High book with Wonder Woman and Harley Quinn, and it didn't look interesting at all. And she would probably enjoy it, and that's not a good thing. Like, I don't want to encourage that. So I say this as somebody who's read 1,000 Sweet Valley High books at her age, but still.
There's a all ages DC book called Supergirl Adventures in the 8th Grade. that is supposed to be super great.
Okay.
I haven't read it, but everything I've seen on it looks amazing.
Okay. And I figured, maybe some of the graphic novel stuff that comes out of this series will be good. So my daughter loves reading comic books and graphic novels and stuff. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a great picture from when her best friend was visiting a couple weeks ago, and it's just the two of them sitting on my son's bed, and it's just like piled with Adventure Time comic books and Powerpuff Girl comic books and Lumberjanes and just all, and they're both just sitting there. They're not talking to each other. Her friend has driven from Wisconsin for this, and they're just sitting on beds reading comic books to each other. And
I saw that picture. It was great.
Yeah, and her dad is a huge comic book fan. I keep joking that the two of you are very, very similar. Like every now and then you'll say something and I'm like, Jess could have said those exact words. So you are basically 25-year-old Jess. And
Suck it, Jess.
Yeah. Doing it better on the second go around. But it was just really cute. I think the two of us were both just like, oh, look.
Yeah. Yeah, that picture was great. It
was really cute. But so I would like to, hopefully something will be good from that whole series of things. But I thought the Wonder Woman trailer actually made me interested in seeing that movie because I know very little about the Wonder Woman mythos, backstory, whatever.
It's very inconsistent.
Yeah, well.
She gets rebooted more than any DC character I can think of.
And that's really saying something. So
yeah, DC's all about reboots, but Wonder Woman especially so.
But I like this because it reminded me more than anything else, I think, pretty clearly of the first Captain America movie. Because you don't see a lot of historically set superhero movies, period piece movies, but it's also like period piece plus the mythology parts of the Thor movies.
That's what I was going to say. It's like it's Cap meets Thor, which I love both of those movies.
I hate Thor, but I'm optimistic that this will be done better than Thor.
I like that it's a war movie, but they didn't go with the obvious thing and make it World War II.
Yeah.
World War I, I think, is the most fascinating war just ever. It's
crazy. It's super bonkers.
Yeah.
It makes sense to no one.
they didn't know what they were doing.
No.
Like, they were inventing everything on the fly.
Yeah.
People were, like, charging into bullets wearing wool caps. Like, it was nuts.
It was really nuts. Have you ever seen any Blackadder? Okay, so Blackadder is a BBC series.
It's got
historically
this guy in it.
Yeah, it's got Rowan Atkinson. It's got Hugh Laurie, who it's got in it. Hugh Laurie's awesome in it, but he's in the last two series. He's a main character.
He's the only thing that makes House a good show.
Yep. Well, when Cal Penn was on it, he was good, sort of, for a little while. No, maybe I'm just saying that because he died.
The only thing that was great about Cal Penn being in that is like, is that Cal Penn?
Yeah, there was a little bit of
doctor.
Yeah,
and then he left the show, and you're like, wait, Cal Penn works for the Obama administration?
Yeah. So, okay, here's my Cal Penn story, and we're going off track again, but it is tied to comic books. I swear to God. So, Cal Penn and Brandon Rouse were stumping for Obama in 2008. And they came...
Star of the very unsuccessful Superman
movies, and then has never done any other Superman stuff. So,
but he's the Atom on Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, that's a sad story.
Oh, it sure is.
But so I'm saying comic book related. So I go to this meeting of like local organizers in 2008 for Obama, which they had in a laundromat. It was still really low key, the Obama movement at this point. It was right after I moved to Madison. I didn't know anybody. It was something fun to do. And I didn't know when I went that Cal Penn and Brandon Routh were going to come. They were the the celeb guys who were out working for Obama. And they come and walk in. And Brandon Routh, I got to say, is ridiculously good looking.
Oh,
he's tall and
he seems
gorgeous.
like a sweetheart. Like,
and he does seem like he's
I feel so bad for always laughing at him anytime.
Yeah, he seemed so nice, and he seemed really sincere about what he was doing, and how much he believed in Obama, and it was really sweet. And then Cal Penn got up and started speaking, and he is also ridiculously good looking. Like, he's one of those guys that it's like, oh, he's kind of the quirky Indian character actor guy, but he's so hot. I gotta say, super hot. And he gets up and he was immediately like, he's so smart, so smart. Mm-hmm. And everything he said was clever. He was really, quick on his feet, knew a ton, like new policy stuff, just really on it. And then this protester shows up with like a big, like some Lyndon LaRouche guy with a big sign. And he starts chanting, "Don't bomb Iran. Don't bomb Pakistan." And we're all like staring at him. And then he starts ranting about, stuff that Obama did in the Senate, whatever point. And then at one point he shouts, "Kumar, you tell him." And Calvin goes, "That's not my name." I was like, oh my God. So they had to escort it. Actually, they didn't even push this guy out. We just stood there staring at him. And then he sort of walked his way backwards towards the back door. Like,
just like still chanting, but then like going out.
But then trying to make it seem like, oh, you guys are making me leave. This is brutality. And we're all like, no one is touching you. Literally no one has spoken to you other than to say, my name isn't Kumar. Like, we're just not acknowledging any of this. So that's my Brandon Routh and my Calvin story. But the Wonder Woman trailer, I want to see that now, which is shocking.
I didn't love it as much as I wanted to.
Well, like all afternoon, people were like, Wonder Woman! So I can see how going in after
I didn't see Batman versus Superman, and if you are interested as to why, please watch my 3/4 episode with Alan where we talked about Batman v Superman for like an hour.
Well, then put it up where people can see it, dude, and we'll watch it.
I'm sorry, I'm terrible. I've been very busy.
Hey, Karen, you're here too. I didn't even realize. This is another friend of mine.
Nice. I think she was here last week.
That doesn't surprise me.
But anyway, I really want, Wonder Woman's always been a character I really want to like more than I have, just because she's not always well done. And watching this, I was like, I had seen the poster, and I feel like that's what made my expectations go really high. I was just color in a DC movie. A color that doesn't look like it belongs at an Insane Clown Posse rally. We'll get on that later.
Yeah.
And then I watched the trailer. I was like, it's fine. Very action heavy trailer.
Yeah.
It looks cool. But I don't know. I got a little bit of a 300 vibe off it, especially with that music.
Oh yeah, that's a fair point. But Zack Snyder isn't actually directing that; he's producing, right? I mean, he sort of produces all of the. He's just involved in the general.
Yeah, he's not that involved with this one.
Okay, good.
That's good.
So then,
but I also watched the Justice League trailer, and I like that way more than I expected to.
I like that way more than I expected to, too, mainly because of the Flash and because I like Jason Momoa. So both of those are appealing.
The fucking gorgeous hunk of man meat.
Yeah, there's nothing to not like about
man meat.
I mean, I guess if you get, he's said some problematic things here and there, but who hasn't? And he's pretty enough that I'll forgive them.
Yeah, he's so charming.
He really is. Have you seen the thing where they ask him, so it's like he's signing autographs and some paparazzi shouts, are you excited about being in Aquaman? And he was like, yeah. And the guy goes, are you a strong swimmer? And he just looks at him and he does this great, Hawaiian. He goes, I'm Hawaiian, bro. The thing he does with his eyebrow, he's got top-notch eyebrow acting.
He does. The one thing in the trailer, Jason Momoa is great, and the visual is perfect, but Aquaman's been done so many different ways because he's such a kind of ridiculous character, especially in the Super Friends. Ever since Super Friends, they've trying to get away from that, make him super serious. Right. I would have liked it if he was a little more happy bro-ish. Which Jason Momoa, That's his
so if he
default
was
setting,
actually Jason Momoa, you just wanted to see
like, I just
Jason
wanted him to be,
Momoa,
like, you know,
but
real
with like
badass.
seaweed on him.
Yeah, just like really like, you know, badass, burly, like I'm ready to throw down, but also I'm kind of a happy-go-lucky bro.
Right, not like, but as opposed to like this weird, dark fishing town, he wanted it to be more Hawaiian.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to be like, I'd like to see him crack a smile.
Well, it's possible. I felt you got to see, I feel like Ben Affleck briefly cracked a smile in that trailer. So the scene with him and Wonder Woman was really good. She says, did he say you'd fight with us? And he says, more or less. And she goes, more or more less. And he's like, maybe more or less. And she's like, so he's not going to do it. And he's like, yeah, no, he's not going to do it. I thought that was actually pretty charming. And, you know, I didn't see any of that in any of the trailers for Batman versus Superman, any sort of moments of Ben Affleck charm at all.
There was one moment where Wonder Woman shows up in the trailer, which they never should have done that fucking reveal in the trailer. But and Superman's like, is she with you? And Batman's like, I thought she was with you.
Oh God,
man, that movie.
I may have to go watch that movie if I want to see Justice League, though, don't I?
We should. Is there a way we can watch that together and live stream it and just get like toasted? Oh, you have children. I don't know to what degree you would just binge drink to a bad movie.
I could do it if my parents were in town for the next day.
Well, next time your parents are in town, hit me up. We'll watch.
All right. That sounds like a good plan. I actually want to see Suicide Squad. I do. It looks like it could be absolutely horrible, but at least it might be kind of fun horrible.
It looks fun. Like, and part of that is they cheat and use great pop songs.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like Zack Snyder. I know he again is not the director on that, but he always is involved in this stuff, and he does great trailers, and the music in his trailers are always fantastic. Every time I see a movie that Zack Snyder directs.
Did you like the Batman versus Superman trailers? They looked so bad to me.
I liked one of them. I don't remember which one.
Okay.
But like his trailer for Watchmen was awesome. The trailer for 300, for God's sake, is like the best trailer ever. It's so good. I listened to that Nine Inch Nails song 20 times more than I ever did before that trailer came out. And I like that album, but now it's like one of my favorite songs in that album. So I can like yell, "This is Sparta" about a minute into it every time I listen to it. But yeah, no, I'm going to go see Suicide Squad.
I get an icky vibe off it, especially with the Harley Quinn stuff.
Oh, there's going to be gross Harley Quinn stuff. No doubt. No doubt.
I was one of those kids who watched the Batman, the animated series, where she was debuted. And even in that iteration, like Harley Quinn's kind of an icky character when you really get right down to it. Like she was a super, smart scientist doctor person who got befuddled with this crazy person and is now his super sad, abused henchwoman girlfriend.
Yeah,
which is already icky. And then like with the New 52 and with like the Arkham Asylum video games, they like really sexed her up and it became super popular. And it's just real icky to me. And I love like Suicide girls shit. Like that aesthetic is something I find very appealing.
I find her very appealing. Yes,
so like watching those trailers, I'm just like, I don't know.
And the fact that Jared Leto is apparently such a dick to her on set, also, and
he's a douche nozzle.
Yeah, he is a huge douche nozzle, and so I assume I don't necessarily think it's a topic that will be treated with a lot of sensitivity in the movie. But I'm still going to go see it, and I'm still going to just like set aside my like your fave is problematic mindset for like 2 hours. Just be like, I'm going to go watch him blow shit up. That guy blows fire out of his mouth. I'm going to watch that. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I don't know if we'll even... Natasha like finds nothing about it appealing. No. And I definitely couldn't just watch it with her because she would just like not be on board for it. I might go see it with a buddy. But I don't know. I get such icky vibes off of the whole thing.
Harley Quinn thing.
The Harley Quinn and like that idea of the Joker is just very unappealing to me.
Yeah.
Because I love the Joker, like formerly like favorite character until, stuff like that and just like the Alan Moore stuff, like revisiting that. I'm just like, I need to step away from this for a while.
Well, I like the trailer that came out today. So I don't think it's going to be a good movie, but I bet
it's going to do well.
I'm assuming it'll do well, and I think it'll be enjoyable for me if I just sort of turn my brain off. Mm-hmm. And some weekends I need to turn my brain off. Most weekends I need to turn my brain off.
That's fair.
And that's why, when we have the opportunity to go out to movies and my husband's like, well, I hear this new movie is supposed to be really good and it's set in Brussels. And I'm like, no, we're going to watch Jurassic World. Suit up. That's what we're doing. We're watching something
Jurassic World was fun.
We just want something real loud and big and dumb. And that is what Suicide Squad pretty much promises. Big and loud and dumb.
Let me know what you think. If you like it enough, I will probably go see it.
Okay.
One other thing I found really disappointing is Deadshot is played by Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And Will Smith lately just hasn't been doing it for me. No. Like, dad Will Smith, and it's not even that he's a dad, it's that he got like weirdly into Scientology. And,
it's the Scientology thing for me completely. I can't deal with Scientology.
And Deadshot, actually, if I were to recommend a DC series to you, there was this really great series called Secret Six, which was like a spiritual successor to Suicide Squad, written by Gail Simone, who is great.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And it's basically like a Suicide Squad type of thing. It's like, these are these 6 supervillains who made a team because they weren't invited to be part of like the Legion of Doom is basically the premise. And Deadshot's in that, and he was one of my favorites. And he has like, my favorite thing about him is he's like this, he looks like he lives in a trailer park. Like he's got this mustache, like a awesome handlebar Fu Manchu mustache.
Nice.
And then like, it's not that he was black. Like Will Smith, if Will Smith had had that Fu Manchu, I'd have been like, yes. Then he like has his cool beard. And let's face it, Will Smith looks amazing. Like old Will Smith looks great in a different way that from young Will Smith. But I was just like, man, that mustache is real important to me.
So I think that's all the Comic-Con stuff.
With all the stuff we were into, someone in the chat, I think it was Ryan Reisman, said that Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel has been cast.
Oh yeah.
And
so Brie Larson, who they was basically floated out there a couple weeks ago. One? Brie Larson just won an Oscar this past year for this movie called Room, which is basically like she plays a young woman who got kidnapped as a teenager and locked in like a shed, and the guy knocked her up, and so it's just her and her kid living in this shed, and she manages to get the kid out to go tell somebody that he's a small child who's been locked in the shed his entire life, and so she gets rescued, and then they deal with like the aftermath of what it's like after something like that. So it's sort of a J.C. Duggar sort of situation, or like those poor women who were in the house in Cleveland. Just one of those fun, lighthearted Oscar movies.
Sounds great.
But she was apparently really super good. So I trust that she'll do a good job of it, but I understand people saying she's too young. I can see that. That's understandable.
I would have liked someone older.
Because Carol's supposed to be older than that. So
I've never liked Carol.
I know.
So I hope this movie's great. I really before that comes out, I plan on getting that out of my system. Like I'm going to try and read the Kelly Sue DeConnick series. That's supposed to be great.
Is that the most recent one?
Yeah. When she becomes Captain
Marvel. I liked some of the Ms. Marvel stuff that I read that I guess it must have been from back around 2007 or 8. I think it was before.
It was right around Dark Avengers, right?
Yeah, it was right before. I read the stuff from right before Secret Invasion. I think, because she played a pretty big role in Secret Invasion, if I recall correctly, and so I wanted to sort of read some of the setup on that. So that's why that's where I read the most Wonder Man, I would say, honestly, too.
Was he in Ms. Marvel?
Via Ms. Marvel, yeah. Because he's just constantly getting in her pants, basically. When she's bored, she calls up Simon. So I like that, because that's all I know of that character, and so the fact that they're having Nathan Fillion play him, apparently, I'm like, oh, good, so he's just going to be like a washed-up man whore. It's perfect. That's perfect casting.
I'm looking forward to that. I hope he has like the weird like graying hair and the sunglasses.
I'm picturing just there's going to be. Did you ever see what's it called? The guys, help me out here. The
Dr. Horrible.
Yes, Dr. Horrible.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to be doing a lot of that in that role when they bring him into the movies eventually.
Up until Avengers, Dr. Horrible was my favorite Joss Whedon thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I hadn't seen Cabin in the Woods yet. Cabin in the Woods is good.
I love Cabin in the Woods. And yeah, Cabin in the Woods is really, really good.
It's got Sigourney Weaver in it.
It does.
You know how I feel about that now.
I do. I recently learned
Phillips
that.
Yen. She looks great in that movie, too.
Yeah, that cracked me up. That's your big celebrity crush is Sigourney Weaver.
Good.
So we've got a Captain Marvel now, and she's too young. So
she's too young.
She's too
young to begin the training.
So I think that's it. That's all the I also watched the Newt Scamander movie preview. What's it called? Fabulous Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Yeah.
That trailer looked okay. It was better than the first trailer.
Read that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So boring.
Yeah. It made me more likely to want to go see that movie. I know, Krista, don't even. She said when you were a kid.
Oh, it's so fun.
It's not. It's awful.
Fun. So fun.
I was in college. I was in college when the first Harry Potter book came out, dude. I
was in third grade when the
I know.
came out.
I'm aware. I know how old you are. I'm well aware.
I just, it's fun to use an example.
I know. I was working at a bookstore when Goblet of Fire came out.
Nice, because that's when it really started getting crazy.
Yeah, that was when it was big. So we did a midnight book thing. So I got to work at like a party at my bookstore. It was like a little independent bookstore, and so we had like all these events where kids could like cut out their own familiars and decorate them, and like there were so many little kids in little Harry Potter costumes. It was adorable. And then I bought it and I went home and I just stayed up all night reading it, and then I slept for like 2 hours and woke up, and my husband at the time, my boyfriend, was like, "Are you going to classes today?" I was like, "No." Are you kidding? I worked all night, and now I got this book to read, so I'm a senior. I don't care if I'm not going to classes. Are you kidding me?
That's the thing I miss most about being in college, is that sometimes, you could just
not go.
Not today. And I worked, one of the very few perks of working for the family business is being like, "Hey, I got this thing for school, really got to work on it." And they're like, "Okay, you do that."
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll just play Portal 2 all day."
Oh, I really hope that they don't watch this. They'll be so mad.
My grandparents? No. They would be so angry with other things that I've said on this, probably.
Oh, man.
They would probably be furious that I was drinking in public.
Oh, no. In public.
Whatever.
In front of these four lovely people.
Yeah. Krista is threatening that you guys are going to meet me in person someday, and I will regret it. I hope so.
Yeah. Well, and so these two over here in the comments are now making me feel like I'm the young one. So Karen knows me from the news group we were on when I was in high school and she was in college, and I was like the baby of that group. So they always give me crap about that and have for years. I was on the Tori Amos Usenet news group when I started when I was like 15 or something. And so I was definitely the youngest one on the group. And so I would go to like cons and stuff that the group would have, and everybody my parents knew like one person who was then in charge of making sure that nobody messed with me basically. And but my parents were super cool about it to let me go to these things with crazy older internet people. Like in 1996, that was absurd. But I think they were like, there are so many worse things that she could be getting herself into here if left to her own devices, that like, let's just let her try this instead. Like maybe it'll just, if she's happy, she'll be less destructive.
I had been brought up by people who cared about my happiness.
Oh, that's so awful. But yeah, no, my parents are. 1996 was the peak of internet naivete. I wouldn't necessarily say that. It was right when people were starting to get super paranoid, and like, I would say 94, 95 when I was first on like AOL, and I'd be like, I'm going to go in a chat room and tell everybody my age, sex, location, that'd be fine. And then
I'll just lie about it. See what happens.
No, I told the truth, and that's worse, because then you get people who are super into it. Like there was a guy on a Muppet AOL chat room who was really keen to start up a conversation with the 15-year-old. It was creepy.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard. Some creep wanting to talk about the Muppets with a 15-year-old girl.
He worked at the Museum of Television and Radio, and he sent me like a picture of himself in like the costume that he had to wear. It
had assless chaps.
No, it didn't. He was legitimately employed dressed up as a character from Sesame Street or something.
Was it Super Grover?
I don't remember. I think I've blocked it out. Whatever he was, he might have been Oscar the Grouch. It was something awful. That's my favorite one. Well, it wouldn't have been after you saw this picture. So that was because of the assless chaps.
That's the thing. You can't tell he's wearing assless chaps because he's in that trash can at first.
That was the second picture. There were two pictures.
One in the can, one out of the
can. So then I became a little bit more careful. And the nice thing about the Tori Amos group was it was largely female and gay men. Not entirely, but there was a lot less. I didn't feel like anybody was hitting on me ever, which was nice. But so that's where I know Karen from. And so for years and years and years, I've been the one who makes them all feel old. So now I'm turning it around and I'm doing it to you, because that's how karma works. Yes.
Yeah, except it doesn't bother me at all. It mostly just makes me laugh.
Oh, it didn't bother me either. It was entirely super, super entertaining. And I'd be like, I was born in 1980. And they were like, no. And I was like,
I forgot you're a clean 10 years above me.
Oh, yeah.
What month are you?
August.
We're pretty close. I'm November.
Yeah. You're November 1990? That's even worse. That's like tail end 1990.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
But I was the perfect age to see the Star Wars re-releases. 6 years
I
old.
suppose that's true. I drove to those in my own car.
My dad took me out of my kindergarten class. It was fine because it was half-day classes.
Oh, God. Owen. No. Oh, no. Chris has just straight up said, fuck you.
Oh, it makes me happy.
Oh, Lord.
So
Ryan,
funny.
you shut up too. All of you. It's the worst.
Okay, so I'm looking at our format here, which we have very much just gone.
We did a bunch of news. Do that thing about.
We talked about the what you're reading.
Okay.
Do we want to do a Underdog Redemption, or do we want to save that?
Tell me who Booster Gold is.
Okay,
That's
Booster
what I
Gold
want to do. And then that can be it.
Booster Gold is my favorite superhero, I think.
Okay.
It's very hard for me
I've heard.
comics. But he's a DC character, which I did not grow up reading DC. But the thing I like about Booster Gold is Booster Gold could not have his own movie, just like independent, just about Booster Gold. Because Booster Gold can't exist without there being like at least 35 years of DC history. Okay. Booster Gold is from the 25th century. And he was like an athlete in college. And they
still have college athletics in the 25th century?
Presumably.
I've already lost my suspension of disbelief.
He played like futuristic football at Gotham University. Anytime, and it's funny because he was unveiled in the 80s. I'll show you a picture of his costume. It's so 80s.
I've seen pictures because I went looking for Booster Gold
pictures.
With
the popped collar?
No, okay, maybe I didn't.
Yeah, his original costume had a popped collar.
Oh, good.
But yeah, they'll like over the years they do like they'll always be like flashing back to his history or whatever, and they'll be like he was playing football, and it's always like weird ideas of like what does the 25th century look like to the 1980s audience? What does it look like in the 90s? Just like always weird interpretations of the timeline he's from, because he's like the only one from that timeline. Anyway. Okay. He's really good at football, but his deadbeat dad comes in the picture, and he starts throwing games for gambling purposes. And so Booster Gold, John Michael Carter, that's his real name, he gets kicked out and has to get a job as a janitor in a museum. So he's a loser. He's working with this little robot and like a little security robot. And he's like, you know what? Fuck this. He like goes, he's like in the superhero exhibit, and it's like, these are the heroes of the 20th century. Weren't they cool? Superman, what a great guy. And he's just like, there's all these like cool shit in the museum. Just like, here's a Green Lantern ring that we just have and display at our museum. Why not? And he's just like, you know what? Fuck this. And he like steals a bunch of shit. Like he steals like a power suit and like a force field thing. And he gets this ring that's from the future that's called a Legion flight ring, which is this ring that lets you fly. Like you can just fly with it. He gets all this cool shit, and he like uses a working time machine, which is in this museum, which makes no sense to me. But he's like, fuck this. I'm going to go back to the 20th century and be the coolest guy. I'll be the best superhero because I've got this security robot with me who can tell me everything that's going to happen that's important, and I'll just be the best superhero. So he's like basically like the perfect like Reagan era superhero because he's all about the money and the fame and the cars. Which is great because like you can't have a Booster Gold movie by itself because the whole idea is that he wants to like ingratiate himself into like the existing DC universe and like be on the Justice League and shit.
And they're all like, no, fuck off, basically, I would assume.
Oh no, he managed to con his way onto the Justice League. He like staged a crime at the Justice League headquarters. And
you're not really good at this, I gotta say. Just Justice League in general seems to like they don't impress me as much.
The era I'm talking about, the like late 80s, right after they did the big reboot, their big first reboot, is the best version because it doesn't take itself seriously. Okay. That's like the goofy one, and that's why I really like Booster Gold because he like bros up with this character named Blue Beetle, who is basically a dime store Batman. He's like a millionaire, but he doesn't have as much money as Bruce Wayne. And like he's got tech, but it's not as cool as Batman's tech. And he doesn't have like the spooky shtick. He's just like a guy in like a bug, like a flying bug car. You've seen the Watchmen movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's who Night Owl is based off of.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And they're just like bros. They're just like deadbeat loser superheroes, which is something I'm very fond of, if you know how much I love the movie Ant-Man.
I was going to say New Warriors, but...
New Warriors, too. So that's my favorite character, because I really like goofy time travel shit, and just, you know...
So that sounds pretty perfect.
He comes across as a jerk, and he definitely is a lot of the time, but my favorite stories is where he, kind of learns that he needs to not be such an asshole.
So he's the time-traveling hollow football janitorial thief with a pop collar who tries.
Hold on, I gotta show you.
But he learns life lessons about how to not be such a douchebag all the time. That's the overall gist of With a Heart of Gold.
With a Heart of Gold.
Yes.
I haven't told you the best part.
Booster Gold. Okay, what is the best part?
I haven't told you the best part.
How could any of it be anything?
Okay, so he comes back to the past and he's got all this cool shit, but he wants to make his grand entrance. He wants to make a really big splash so he can, like, you know, get all the endorsement deals and shit. Mm-hmm. So he figures he talks to his little flying robot buddy Skeets. Mm-hmm. And he's like,
did you say Skeets?
That's his name, Skeets. In fact, you should. I just recommended the Justice League cartoons. Mm-hmm. Justice League Unlimited. There's an episode all about Booster Gold and what a loser he is.
Justice League Unlimited. Is it? Where would I access this? Is it on Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch the episode "Greatest Story Never Told." Okay. Steven, or the voice actor who does Philip J. Fry, is his little robot buddy.
So the voice actor who does everybody.
Yeah, that guy.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, he's like, what's something big that's going to happen that I could stop and become a big hero? And he's like, well, Ronald Reagan is about to be assassinated. And he's like, perfect. So he saves Ronald Reagan from being assassinated. And Ronald Reagan's like, what's your name, son? I can't do Ronald Reagan's voice because he wasn't president while I was alive.
Shut up.
But he's like, he's been thinking of names. He's like, maybe Booster. That was my nickname in college. No, that sucks. He's like, man, Gold Star. That's a cool name. He's like, my name is Booster Gold Star. And Ronald Reagan's like, Booster Gold, ladies and gentlemen. And so even his name is wrong. It was a flop by Ronald Reagan. He's the perfect superhero of the 80s.
Oh my God, that is really good. Okay, show me the pop collar. Do you have a pop collar pic?
Yes, I do. How do I share my screen? I saw it on here somewhere.
That's a thing you can do?
Yeah, I just can't remember how to do it. Okay. This is very fascinating to watch.
Yeah, so meanwhile, Owen is on his phone looking for pictures of Booster Gold's. You know, I could look up Booster Gold's pop collar.
You sure could have. We didn't have to do this at all. There we go.
Oh, that's quality. Oh my God. That's fantastic.
But anyway, that's my favorite, like, underdog character. He was also really good in 52, which was the series that got me into DC. So that's why I like that character so much.
Well, thank you. I've now had the mystery solved about who Booster Gold is. So after all these weeks, Krista brings up the Luke Cage trailers. We didn't mention that a bunch of Marvel stuff came out.
Yeah,
of Comic-Con.
I haven't watched the Iron Fist trailer, but I watched the Luke Cage one, and it looked pretty good.
The Luke Cage one was good. The Iron Fist one is very small, and the Defenders one is just literally just Stick is still an asshole, I think, is how
Stick is
Ryan.
In it? Come on.
I know. So that's Ryan. It was you who posted that earlier today, I believe. You can hear Stick in the Defenders trailer. It's the last line is Stick talking in the Defenders trailer, and I was like, "Boo!"
I did not have the hate for him that y'all did in the first season, but second season I was just like, "Oh."
Yeah. So apparently we're gonna get, which makes sense because I assume Defenders is gonna have hand stuff, like it has to. It has to.
The hand's just not that interesting to me.
Oh, you don't need to tell me that. I just read Enemy of the State today. Not that interesting.
The story where Elektra is a SHIELD agent, apparently.
Oh my God. Oh my god!
Wearing like a baseball cap that has
Wearing
Shield on it.
Baseball cap that has Shield on it, and reading James Joyce at the Shield meetings because she's too good to actually pay attention to what's going on. That was one of my favorite things I've ever seen. Just her sitting there reading Ulysses, and it's not even like it's just a book, and it just says Ulysses across the front of it. They didn't even manage to like try and stylize it and make like an actual book would look. It's just like, no, we want to make it obvious that she's reading a smart person book. So yeah, Elektra is a Shield agent, and then she gets fucking taken by Gorgon and, resurrected by the hand again. I swear to God, that's what happens at the end of the series.
Gorgon, you mean the Inhuman?
No, Gorgon, the mutant, the guy who worked for the hand and whatever the.
I thought you were getting
the thing with Lady Deathstrike and all those other. Remember how there was that whole chunk where there were a bunch of supervillains working together for Hydra?
Supervillains working together?
I know, it's a real novel concept. But this was, he briefly took over Hydra with he killed Strucker and like married his 134-year-old wife. And swear to God, this is what I just read.
Like fine wine.
Really not. Not at all. John Romita Jr. makes that quite clear. Not an attractive lady.
Not that I don't think anyone looks attractive when John Romita Jr. draws them.
No, but they did that on purpose. So yeah, so Elektra gets turned back into a hand agent by the end of it. But then a few years later, she shows up in Daredevil again, and I think Daredevil's just like, I thought you were working for the hand again. And she's like, nope. He's like, all right.
The editors said we didn't care about that plot line anymore. It's fine.
I'm assuming they did it at some point in the middle, but they really just, in Daredevil at least, they just sort of hand waved it. They're like, nope, I'm good. And he's like, all right, good to see you again. I'm married to this other poor woman that I put in peril all the time. She's blind too. And Elektra's like, that's not going to end well. He's like, I know. That's my impression of Daredevil between 2000 and
my favorite things for you to read and post shit about and just be annoyed about is Daredevil.
I liked all that run of Daredevil except for the fact that he had this poor wife that I'm like, don't marry him. All he does is like put you in situations where you have to be like, mad, help, and then she goes crazy. And I'm like, this is just like, it's like Karen only blind. Like she is Karen Page only blind and without like weird backstory that I shouldn't potentially get into because it might spoil the show, even though I don't think it will. I very much doubt that they're going to do the stuff on the Daredevil show that they did with Karen Page at the end of her run.
Who knows?
Hey,
Kevin Smith, man.
It'd be fun. It'd be fun. Real fun.
Would it be fun? That shit was...
Okay, fun's not the word.
They talk about...
It would be interesting. It would be unexpected for people who did not read the comics. Because I certainly wasn't expecting it.
The term fridging comes from an issue of Green Lantern where Green Lantern's girlfriend gets like murdered and stuffed in a refrigerator.
Right.
And that isn't nearly as disrespectful as what happened
to Karen Page. No, really not.
As that dump that Kevin Smith took on Karen Page.
Well, I keep waiting for them to announce that they've cast Bullseye in something on one of the Netflix shows because they have to at some point. But I know as soon as they do, I'm like, well, bye, Karen.
If they fucked up Bullseye, because they could, given how bad last season was, Bullseye is like not the linchpin by any means, but like he adds such a spice to Daredevil with all of his like brooding and shit. Mm-hmm. Like I just want a manic, crazy assassin with a dumb shtick who's just nuts and really loves killing people.
Ooh,
and is played by Jason Statham.
Yep, that'd be good. I'm down for that.
He's much older than what's his face, but he could be good. Honestly, Colin Farrell
was good. That's
is the only thing good about that movie.
Ryan disagrees with you.
He's terrible, but like
he at least livens the
Yeah, he is that character.
So we have an announcement that Daredevil 3 has been...
Season
3 has come out. There's a very, very brief Defenders trailer. There's a slightly less brief Iron Fist trailer.
The Luke Cage trailer was great, but he should have been wearing yellow. It honestly bugged me.
I know,
because I'm a crazy.
But it was it was so good. Like other than the yellow issue, which I understand is a problem for you, but
that the Power Man and Iron Fist comic right now is really good.
You have told me, and you posted that panel of him talking about him wearing yellow and trying to explain why he wears yellow.
And just like trying to save face
right,
for
and then
that
it's like, no,
costume.
It was actually a poor choice. I admit that now. But yeah, the show looks so good. I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for all the supporting cast that's in it. From what I've seen in the trailer, the little bit that I've seen looks good, and just the actors who I know are cast in it.
Dude, when he rips that car door off and busts through the door, and then doesn't he wrap someone up in it?
Mm-hmm, yep, he does.
Oh.
You're like, I wasn't just imagining that, right? That happened.
I couldn't remember if it was the car door or if it was something else. No, but it was something metal, and it was so great.
Yeah, no,
I'm
excited. I'm excited, and that's not far off. That's end of September. So,
woo-hoo!
Yes, which will come awfully fast based on how this past year has gone. It's flown by in all its darkness and misery. At least it's gone relatively fast, I would say. It's the best thing you can say for 2016.
Yes, I am not looking forward to November, though.
This is not the time to start even
No, it's not. This is a fun show. This is a family show.
Yeah, things I have to say about anything on that topic are not family friendly. Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, I got a wedding that weekend that I'm going to.
Oh, God.
And just depending on how that goes, it's going to be just...
Oh, God.
Yeah, we're moving on.
You have a very, I assume, a relatively different extended family dynamic than I do. So,
I also have a different Facebook for that wing of my life.
Yes.
So I just occasionally check it. I'm just like, nope.
Yeah. Closing all that out. No, I live in my nice little echo chamber, and I like it very much that way. It's nice.
Yeah. That must be so nice. Oh, God, it's so stressful.
Yeah. This is why I don't live in rural Texas. So there's a reason for that. I could if I wanted to. I don't want to. Yeah, I've resorted to using Facebook as a way to remove people from my life, Ryan says. And
pretty great.
You're not wrong. That's a good strategy. I have not had to do much of that. I did have one person unfriend me because she was one of the few super conservatives on my page, somebody I went to high school with. And I have Republican friends. It's not an issue, but it's, really... She was super conservative, and she wasn't really a good friend of mine. And she posted some obviously Photoshopped picture of Hillary hanging out with Osama bin Laden. And I commented on it, and I was like, so that's not real. You're aware that's not real. And she was like, yeah, but it speaks of her character, and it could be real. And I'm like, but it's not. And she unfriended me for being like, there are reasons to dislike Hillary Clinton. I'm sure you could find other pictures that would actually support this thesis as opposed to just posting something completely false. And she unfriended me, and I was like, all right, man, live your truth, whatever. And Krista, that's not who it was. No. So she's actually far more reasonable. This is how unreasonable that person is.
Gina, we love you.
Yeah, she's lovely. Not Krista does not feel the same way about this person. So
anyway, politics aside,
yay!
There are cool comic things to be had. It's still great to be a geek for the most part.
It is. I mean, today was a real embarrassment of riches. The fact that I spent all day on Facebook being like, I cannot watch any of these things. Oh, and I didn't even mention the Legion preview that I watched. So the preview for the FX show.
Did it look good?
It looked bonkers. And that's
it would have to.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know how much it's going to tie into the movies or whatever because they don't.
I hope very little.
Yeah, it didn't seem to have anything other than the fact that it had a little there was an X symbol in the logo for the show, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think in the O there was an X in the middle of the O, Legion, and that was it.
I'm very hit and miss on FX. Like I like Archer,
mm-hmm.
and
I love
Always Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
Well,
it's so fucked up.
So fucked up. And they've done a million episodes at this point, so obviously they're not all going to be winners.
I was going to say, though, they're doing a New Mutants TV show, and I wish the people who are doing Stranger Things were doing that.
Oh, that would be cool.
Because you haven't read 80s New Mutants, but it was very much like this.
Yeah. That is actually something that I read recently. I read the last chunk of New Mutants from
the
2012.
late 90s?
No, the 2012.
Okay.
So when that sort of petered out, because they didn't feature in AVX at all. They were off doing their own thing that was sort of Valkyrie based. And then they had this weird plot line at the end where like this future dystopian Doug comes back and fucks with them, basically.
Oh, poor Doug.
I know. Oh, it was really depressing. But so that was sort of how that ended. I don't know if they have done another New Mutants since then, but that was one of the last.
The New Mutants are scattered.
Yeah, well,
because
it was really a mess at the end. They brought in X-Man, which, as we now know him, Alt Cable.
Yeah. Oh,
as Danny Moonstar's love interest, sort of, almost, kind of, briefly.
Thank you so much. Danny Moonstar was one of my first comic book crushes because I read those when I was like 8 or 9. Like Danny Moonstar and fucking Devil Girl, Magic.
Oh, well, yeah.
So wonderful. But guys, I know I've said this already, but read Worst X-Men Ever. It's the best thing I've read all year.
I really want to read it. I think
it's so good. It's on Comixology now.
It is. I think the first issue of it might be up on Marvel Unlimited now, or if it's not, we're within striking distance of me finally being able to go read it. Because I know at least the first 2 issues of Vision are on Marvel Unlimited now, and they started around the same time. I can't wait
to read that. That's so good.
The Vision one?
Yeah.
I've read some of the Vision now.
I haven't read any of it, but I just know, like,
it's weird.
Just, every time I hear anything about it, I just hear it's so brilliant.
Yeah, I think I've read about 4 issues of it that they had in the store on Free Comic Book Day, and I was like, yep, Anton wants me to read these. I'm going to buy all these. And then I was like, oh God, single issues are so expensive now. Put them back. But I did end up buying those ones. I went in and picked up a whole bunch of stuff and then looked at them and I'm like, oh, it's been a long time since I bought single issues of anything. I didn't plan to spend $60 today, so put some of these back. Or my husband will be mad if I come home with this giant stack of comic books, like totally in the middle of series and stuff. It's like, what happened?
About a month before Natasha moved down here, my local comic shop had gotten in from some other person that they had bought them from the entire run of the original New Mutants, which is like 100 issues. And I had about half of it, but I got the other half. And it was so much money.
Yeah, I can imagine.
She's like, so how much did you spend? And I can't even remember how much it was now, but it must have been like $120. And she was like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's really easy to spend a whole bunch of money on comics without even realizing you're doing it. So
I'm trying to cut back, but with Hastings going out of business, everything's going to be marked down, and that's when I make my move.
Yeah, smart. Well, I mean, that's when I got Marvel Unlimited, is because I went to the store and just picked up a bunch of trades, and when I went to checkout, I was like, oh, it's $140 worth of trade paperbacks, because they're a lot more expensive in brick and mortar store than they are on Amazon. Like on Amazon, every trade's marked down to like $12, but the actual sticker price on them is like $25. And I was like, oh, I didn't think this is what I was going to be spending my money on this month. So that's when I found out about Marvel Unlimited and got that, and it has sucked up a large portion of my life.
Yeah, you've read so much.
I've read so much. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. So next time we can talk about the crazy extreme X-Men thing that I read.
I forgot. I'm looking forward to that.
We'll do that next because I also have to read the Age of
Age of X.
No, not Age of X. Age of why am I Apocalypse? There's the Age of Apocalypse series that they do in 2011, 2012, 2013.
They did a nut.
Yeah, they did.
Comics, man.
Yeah, so that ties into the Extreme X-Men and ties into Astonishing X-Men and a bunch of other things. So that's on my list to get that done, but it's really boring. So, but once I get that out of the way, then I can talk more about how it all ties together.
That'll be fun.
That's my plan for next week.
Okay, I think we have shot our bolt.
Oh yeah,
which is a thing that people say.
Yeah,
I don't really get it.
Sure,
but this was fun.
Yay!
This was a really good first episode. Longer than we usually do, which is fine with me.
We were sort of backed up on stuff to talk about, and we came in on Comic-Con week, so.
And none of your kids were like fighting in the other room. That you had to go with them too.
Yeah, they probably will be like 5 seconds after I turn this off. They'll both wake up simultaneously and just.
They'll hear you click.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, she's free again for us to torment."
But this was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing this next week. We're doing this Saturday. Is that the first Saturday of the month? No, it is not. Saturday? It's not. Okay. And I was thinking, I don't know what your Sundays are like at all, but on those weeks we could maybe do it on Sunday. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll play that by ear. But yeah, we will plan on doing this next Saturday, same time. So thank you everyone for coming and for
you guys were great in the sidebar.
Tell your friends. I will get this one and the previous one uploaded to YouTube, and I really am planning on looking in how to doing this as an actual podcast, but I need to completely reteach myself how to use Adobe Premiere.
Is that what it is on your computer?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. I used it in high school, but I was a very bad student.
So that's not going to be helpful at all.
Yeah. And not even just in high school, but we only used it for like 1 year. But I remember it being very intuitive. So I plan on using that to learn how to edit, and then Natasha will have to.
Yeah, as Ryan posted, Ryan says you live with someone who could help.
Somewhat. She can't help me with editing.
Though. Download it onto one of her Macs and do it from there. Maybe she'd let you do that. Maybe.
She wouldn't. Well, I have asked her before to help me, and she's like, "Do you know how busy I am?" I'm just,
I didn't say that she had to help you. I'm just saying GarageBand's pretty easy. I could even do that, but email it to me. I haven't used GarageBand in ages, but I'm sure I could figure it out again. We'll just email files back and forth. No. They're really productive.
You are busy. I should probably try and learn how to do this, but we'll figure that all out later. All right. Thanks for coming, and this was a lot of fun. We will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.